As a 21-year-old founder building a tech startup for the past 1 year, there are three reasons as to why I think most startup teams fail. There are three conditions a founder needs to look at before he can fully establish that he or she now has a fully functional, highly efficient startup team. And now, the list which I have made, the first one I feel is that the founder should be very well versed with the skill set his team member has. Let me delve down into it a bit. Whenever you're onboarding a team member, whenever you're having a conversation with them, or having an interview with them, or having an onboarding talk with them, you need to understand one thing, which is that the version you're seeing of them right now is the one which is meant to impress you. They are supposed to put on a good impression in front of you. Only then would you make the final decision to hire them, right? But that is not what the real team member is. Real skill sets are only visible when conditions are different. What do I mean by different conditions? What I mean is when there are no playbooks to play by, there are no rules to follow. A project is changed, timelines are changed, a product is tweaked, product resource documents are changed. How is your team member then operating? Only then do you really see the human side of them. The resume version is not what you should be interested in at the start. Of course, it is the bare minimum for them to have some qualifications to be on your team, but it is also very important for us to look past their resume version. Now, there are two aspects to this. First is that it is the founder's responsibility to put them in places, in conditions where they can develop. They will not willingly go into territories where the environment is totally new for them. It is the founder's job to put them in positions, to put them in conditions where they learn on their own. They learn to swim on their own and they don't drown in the ocean, right? And then the second layer is that people often don't know their full skill set. Even I don't know my full skill set. So it is the job of the founder to look past their initial version. Your team member might think that he or she is good in A, B, C skill, but those A, B, C skills have been internalized into them by their past environments, by statements like you're good with A, you're good with B. So now they think they're good with A, B, C. But as a founder, you need to think, is this person capable for D, E, F as well? And then it is your job to put them in conditions where they have the full environment with them, a full support system with them to work on their core competency, which is ABC, and then also simultaneously work on DEF. And now this summarizes the first condition for a highly efficient startup team. Now let us move on to the second principle, which is that as founders, you need to put people where their learning can be maximized. And now this sounds generous that you've got to maximize their learning and help them grow. But the important point to realize, which even I realized last week, was that not every team member wants to be at the edge of competence. Some people just need to feel reliable all the time. They don't want to be in environments which constantly push them. So you need to figure out of your X number of team members, how many are actually willing to go the extra mile to learn, correct? Because whenever we're learning something new, it comes with anxiety. This is psychologically proven. And whenever you're learning something new, your speed gets low, you start making more mistakes, and processes get delayed. And as a startup, speed and execution are non-negotiable. So we cannot falter in these two pillars of a startup ecosystem. And now, when you talk about these two fundamentals, and then on the other hand, you keep your team members in a place where they're learning, but they're slow, they're making more errors. How do you balance that? Where do you keep that trade-off? The only answer lies in how clear are you in your distinction between your team members. How high conviction do you have in terms of this team member can learn and this team member is okay being a reliable one. Not everybody in the startup will have chances to learn a lot. It depends on their personal personalities as well. Are they willing to go the extra mile, and is it okay if the founder puts them in conditions where they go the extra mile? And the number one reason why teammates leave early stage startups is not because of conflict or bad results, but majorly because of stagnation. Once a team member realizes that they're doing the same work every single day and there is no learning curve, be it steep or not steep, they will leave the company. So, again, as founders, it is important for us to put every employee in a position or every team member in a position where they know that their work is dynamic, where their skill set is dynamic. Even if there is somebody who wants to be the reliable master of the company, there has to be some learning aspect involved in their role as well. So learning for the founder and for the team members is a non-negotiable to keep the team intact. And only if the team is intact, attrition is low, do you get a highly function and highly efficient startup team. So now the third point where so that summarizes our second principle for highly functional startup teams. The third principle, which I think, is that we need to show people how their work connects to the product. And this is about meaning and not just information. It is different to know how their work will be connected to the product, and it is different how they feel about it. And Viktor Frankl's core insight from his work on human psychology was that people can endure almost anything if they have a reason for it. And as I said in my last video, which I will link over here, was that if your team members know how their work is contributing to their final product, they will go to war with you and they will go to war for you. And there's also a structural problem. In early stage startups, the roles are not defined properly. The roles are fragmented. One team member would be working on 3 different projects with 3 different work streams. So then it is difficult to make a coherent picture for them in terms of their contribution. But again, that is the founder's job. The founder's main job is to make sure that the team members know how their work is contributing to the final product. No matter how many work streams they're working on, no matter how many projects they're working on simultaneously. And this is also emotionally taxing for the founder because, I'm carrying the vision. I'm also dealing with my own anxiety with the startup. And now I also have to bear the burden of making sure my team members know how their work is impacting the company. So that's a real weight. And acknowledging this doesn't make us bad founders, but more self aware ones. And these are 3 main um, principles about management. And there's one common thread which binds all the 3 of them. The startup world would majorly talk about a lot about product market fit before you start building a product, which we have already done. But nobody talks enough about founder team fit, the quality of attention the founder gives to the people building with them. I think it is very important. And most people don't leave startups because the work is hard, they leave because their work is invisible. And I'm 21, I don't have 10 years of team building experience, but I've been thinking about this obsessively because I'm living it right now. And these were some opinions or some thoughts I've gathered over the past 8 9 months over working with this startup, and I wanted to share them with all of you. I hope this did make sense for anybody watching. I hope this will help you someday if you guys start something of your own. And I will be back next week with one more video, one more learning. So until then, ciao.